The origin of Halloween and its main symbols. Emerged in Europe, popularized in the United States, and then spread to the world, Halloween or All Hallows Eve, as it is sometimes referred to, in some places in the world it is known by other names. In Brazil, for example, it is known as Witches' Day or Saucy's Day. Saucy is a folkloric character of Brazil's lore. The fact is, this day is very different now than it might have been celebrated centuries ago. With October 31st coming up, it's interesting to find out what Halloween origins are. Halloween is celebrated every year on October 31st, and its name is a contraction of All Hallows Eve. The celebration marks the day before the All Hallows Day Christian holiday and starts the All Hallowtide season, which lasts 3 days and ends with the All Souls Day. But despite this, it is not a religious holiday. Press the like button to incentive us, and subscribe to our channel to receive more interesting facts on the history and culture of our civilization. The first historical vestige of Halloween is the Celtic celebration, Samhain, which was the Celtic New Year. According to Celtic mythology, the veil between the supernatural world and our world thins during Samhain, making it easier for the spirits and souls of the dead to return. The ancient Celts marked Samhain as the most significant of the 4 quarterly fire celebrations, taking place midway between the autumnal equinox and the winter solstice. During this time of year, the fireplace in families' homes was left to burn while the harvest was in progress. After the harvest work was completed, the celebrants joined the Druid priests to light a communal fire using a wheel, which would cause friction and light the flames. The wheel was considered a representation of the sun and used in conjunction with prayers. Cattle were slaughtered and participants took a flame from the community fire back to their home to rekindle the fireplace. The Druids celebrated this holiday with a great fire festival to encourage the setting sun not to disappear. Were people dancing around fires to keep evil spirits away, but leaving the doors open in the hope that the gentle spirits of their loved ones could join them in their fireplaces. In this night, divination was considered more effective than at any other time. So methods were derived to determine who would marry, what great leader might be born, who would rise to prominence, or who would die. Also during the celebration, the Celts used costumes, usually composed of animal heads and skins, and tried to tell each other's futures. Crops were burned and animals were sacrificed. Spirits were believed to amuse themselves with the living, or find a body to possess the following year. This all explains why dressing up as witches, ghosts, and goblins, as the villagers believed they could avoid this possession. All Saints' Eve, All Saints' Day, and subsequent All Souls' Day, was initially celebrated in the spring, during the early years of the Church. But Pope Gregory IV changed it to the current date in 837 AD. Let's together check other characteristics of this day and its historical origins. Trick or treating? The famous modern phrase trick or treating is a confluence of several traditions. The ancient Celts dressed in costumes of evil spirits to confuse demons, as we talked about earlier. In medieval England, there was the practice of the so-called souling, which were people who went around the city, asking the rich for soul cake on Halloween. But instead of threatening to play pranks, they prayed for people's souls in exchange for the cake. In medieval Europe, they played games, dressed in costumes, and visited the neighborhood, while dancing, playing music, and performing tricks. all of which was very popular on the main days of the festival. With immigration, the Irish and Scots brought souling to the United States in the 19th century. But modern-day trick or treat didn't catch on in the United States until the 1920s. However, the practice was controversial in the 1950s. According to the American Journal of Play, Gangsters, Pranksters, and the Invention of Trick or Treating, many adults raised severe objections to trick or treating during this time, as it was often seen as a form of extortion. This was because they were living in the middle of the golden age of mafia. Jack-o'-lanterns. People have been making jack-o'-lanterns on Halloween for centuries. The practice originated from an Irish myth about a man nicknamed Stingy Jack. According to the story, Stingy Jack invited the devil to have a drink with him. True to his name, Stingy Jack didn't want to pay for the drinks, so he convinced the devil to turn himself into a coin that Jack could use to pay for his drinks. Once the devil did this, Jack decided to take the coin and put it in his pocket beside a silver cross, which prevented the devil from returning to his original form. Jack only unleashed the devil under the condition that he wouldn't bother Jack for a year. And if Jack died, he wouldn't claim his soul to hell. Jack took the opportunity to cause chaos everywhere, stealing and committing all sorts of crimes. Sure, he wouldn't go to hell. The following year, Jack again tricked the devil into climbing a tree to pick fruit. While the devil was in the tree, Jack carved a sign of the cross into the bark of the tree so the devil couldn't descend, stopping him from descending until he promised Jack not to bother him for another 10 years. After that, Jack didn't last long and died. According to legend, God did not allow such a sinful figure to enter heaven. The devil, despite being furious at the tricks Jack played on him, kept his word not to claim his soul. He sent Jack back with only a burning coal to light his way into the night. Jack put the charcoal into a carved turnip and has continued to roam the earth ever since, looking for a place to final rest. The Irish began to refer to this ghostly figure as Jack-o'-lantern. In Ireland and Scotland, people began making their versions of Jack's lanterns, carving scary faces out of turnips or potatoes, and placing them in windows or near doors to scare off demons and other wandering evil spirits. In England, large beets are used. Immigrants from these countries brought the jack-o'-lantern tradition with them. When they came to the United States, they soon discovered that pumpkins, a fruit native to America, were an ideal choice for carving lanterns. Jack-o'-lantern was also a way to protect someone's home from the undead. Superstitious people used them specifically to drive away vampires. They thought this because it was believed that the jack-o'-lantern light was a way to reveal the true form of vampires, who, once their identity was known, would give up hunting down the household. Apple bobbing. Halloween is most often associated with the pumpkin, but apples played an important role in its history. After all, apples make numerous appearances in Celtic mythology, and are often connected to the supernatural. The reason? Well, the practice used to be considered a form of divination performed on Halloween. People would dip their heads into a pool of water, and try to grab the floating fruit with a bite to discover their future spouse. The woman marked her name as on the apple and threw it into the bathtub. The thought was that they would be aimed at whoever took it out of the water. Black cat. In the Middle Ages, black cats were often portrayed as witches' familiars. which is likely the source of their distrust in the United States, where early Puritan settlers rejected anything associated with the devil and witchcraft. Another Middle Age belief was that witches turned into black cats to hide. The Bloody Mary Ritual. The origins and practices of the ritual of the Bloody Mary, also known as Mary Worth and Mary Wales, also trace to the origins of Halloween. Many versions of the ritual include the elements of a girl looking in a mirror, usually in a bathroom, darkness, blood, chanting, and the appearance of the damned Bloody Mary. Enjoy Halloween even more with the costumes, decorations, and toy suggestions that we have included in the video description. And to receive more facts and legends from the history of mankind, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Great Almanac of History. See you next time.